Bulavinaka, and welcome back to Empower and Protect. I'm your host, Melania Tora, and we are joined today with Jay Nasilasila, who is the Program Coordinator for the Fiji Disabled People's Federation, otherwise known as FDPF. Now, as you know, a huge part of our show is talking about empowering and protecting our disabled people, so we are so grateful to be joined by Jay today. How are you, Jay?
I'm fine, thanks.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
I want to talk a little bit about your journey. Can you tell us a little bit about you, what you do, what your role encompasses, and everything about you?
Yeah, thank you. For me, I grew up in the north, in the rural, remote areas of Madhuwata, in the maritime areas. I'm from Mali Island, grew up there, and then I'm a person with physical impairment. I do born with my impairment, and after completing my secondary education, I then went through another accident at home, fall from a step, and resulted in me being bedridden for 3 years. So 3 years in recovery was a lot of time of also trying to heal from the accident that I went through. But then thankfully that I was able to reconnect back to mainstream education, able to continue my studies at the FNU Lapas campus. Along the way of my journey, I'm a person who is always I lived with realities and experiences of diverse experience, because being a person with physical impairment and growing up in the rural maritime areas, having faced all those challenges, sort of molded myself to be a more resilient person, I could say, and also having to do things and always think outside of the box.
Right.
As a person who live in rural areas and then working in different spaces. I do have time of my journey that I work with the movement. I worked with the young people. At once I was with the National Council and the youth that was youth work that was done in that time voluntarily. And also I do join Fiji Red Cross.
Okay,
in
great.
Ambassa branch, and I was so fortunate to be part of such organization that that helps in times of need, that provided support. Hence, from there, my passion for disaster work has built on, seeing the support that provided to everyone who affected by any disasters. Yeah, and then I continue my studies, and then I work in few areas with few organizations like Family Pacific in the north.
Okay.
Used to have a community radio station there, 89 Femtalk, 89 FM. So also working that space while studying here in Ambassa. So having to engage more with the people of the diverse background. I do have community engagement with people that are also identified as people of diverse socials in Ambassa. So we do community works back then to support our members. Yeah, and moving on, because I'm a person with disabilities. So my passion grew and in the humanitarian space and engaging in all these different spaces. Like I mentioned, the Fiji Red Cross, the District Council of Social Services, DCOSs in the north. Yeah. And I recently moved over to Suvan 2019 when I take over the role at the Federation. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you so much for that. I noticed that volunteerism, especially with the Red Cross, is a huge part of your journey. Is that how you kind of got into advocacy for disabled peoples?
Yes, because for Fiji Disabled People's Federation, we are an umbrella body of organization of persons with disabilities, and there's affiliated organization that affiliated to us, and since we are umbrella body organization, it's also important to remain connected to the communities.
Right.
So we have established branches. That's where I joined the Lambasa branch of the FDPF in Lambasa. I started to be engaged in that work and advocating for our members who are really struggling through the system, facing a lot of barriers in their daily lives.
Yeah, wow, thank you for that. I want to talk about your life in particular. What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced after, obviously, you talked about you had an accident? Was that 3 years ago, you said? Or you were...
It was 3 years.
Or you were bedridden,
Yeah,
right?
my recovery phase was 3 years.
Right, that's right. Can you talk us through a bit of the challenges that you faced during that time after that accident?
Yeah, for me, one of the challenge that I faced mostly, and back then, was stigma and discrimination, especially being a person growing up in the rural, remote, maritime areas. You often, every day, you often meet people that tend to look at you in a different perspective, undermine your abilities. And at times it always bothers me back then, before I get to be so empowered like now today. But then, like I said, all those challenges has sort of molded me to be a person of who I am today, on facing all those different barriers. Because I'm a person with physical impairment, I do use assistive devices for mobility, and another challenge is the infrastructure itself.
Right.
You know very well that Fiji, we are still sort of slowly going through phases in terms of having accessible infrastructure. That was a greater challenge for me, having to go daily from home to school, and transportations. So the whole infrastructure itself, having it to be not accessible is a challenge that I always face.
Thank you for mentioning that, because I think a lot of the audience watching, we don't really think of that in our day-to-day lives, but it's something that's so real for disabled people to have to think about, how am I going to get from here to here? Where is the accessibility like where I'm going? And so thank you so much for mentioning that. We will be right back with Empower and Protect with Jay Nasilasila right after this short break. Vinaka, and welcome back to Empower and Protect. We're here with Jay Nasilasila, who is the program coordinator for FDPF. Now, in this segment, Jay, I really want to talk about your work with the link between disaster preparedness and disability, because I know that disaster preparedness, it affects our marginalized communities disproportionately. So I want you to kind of talk about the experience from the disabled people's perspective, if that's okay.
Thank you for highlighting that. For, like I said, for persons with disabilities, understanding first is to understand what is disability, and disability is impairment plus barriers. That makes you not able to have some functional limitation, not able to perform certain tasks. And disability is diverse, meaning there's different types of impairment that exist. We have people with visual impairment, people with hearing or hard of hearing or deaf individuals, people with physical disabilities like myself, and those individuals that are considered psychosocial. They have a psychosocial disability that has gone through a mental challenge in their lives, or they have been survivors of psychiatric
trauma and things.
So, and then intellectual disabilities. Intellectual, those that are born with, that has some sort of slow in terms of understanding things, communicating. So having those different impairments itself has different types of existing challenges. The challenges to communicate, the challenges to move around, the challenges to see things around you. And you see, when you see that, in peace times as this, that exists, and it's already been there, all those challenges with its barrier. And then in terms of disasters, it further exacerbates that level of vulnerabilities that are already been faced by people with disabilities. So for us as an organization of persons with disability, we have learned a lot over the years, over the past cyclone as well, where we've seen our members struggling to access evacuation facility or not included in humanitarian aid.
Right.
Hence, all these experiences has also make us to walk in this space because we've seen the gap.
Yes.
And we can't be just sitting out and demanding, we want this, we want this. We have to be involved.
Right.
Because, like we often said, it's nothing about us without us. So persons with disability have the lived experiences. They themselves will be the best expert to talk about the experiences to best design how does the disaster risk management work would look like that would encompass protection for everyone. And there's some international commitment like the Sendai framework that's also aligned where we aligned our work from. We have in Fiji, we have the national disability policies. There's a specific section that talks about the safety and protection of persons with disability in disaster and times of crisis. So preparedness is really important because when you talk about early warning system, is it accessible? For us, we often say in the disability sector that for us, early warning system has to be earlier than early.
Right.
Which means the key consideration in terms of all this, the mode of communication, how it's tailored and delivered to suit the different needs of people with disabilities. So we are working with organizations such as, the ministries, NDMO, the Fiji Met Service. These key government ministries are important because they are the one who's delivering the service to be tailor-made in a way that it suits persons with disabilities. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I love the phrase that you brought up, earlier than early, because we can prepare for disaster, but you need extra time, you need extra resources to be put in for disabled people. And I know that, policymakers and the guys at the top, I guess, they have a lot to do with, changing the policies and amending them to be considerate of disabled peoples. But I want to ask you from the community's perspective, because you said yourself that you are the best people to be involved in creating these policies and things like that, and you're also the best to talk about what we need to consider when we're working with disabled people. So I want to ask you, with just the everyday person, what role do you think that local communities and the members in the community can play in ensuring that no one is left behind when disaster hits? Is there something that we can just do as ordinary people that don't have any kind of authority to change policies and things?
Yeah. Thank you for that question. The role of communities is really important. For us, when we go out and do training in the different districts, communities, in the villages, we always emphasize on the Turani Koros, the village headmen,
right,
the village nurse, community health workers, for them to know that it is important for them to include all these key individuals that are often faced and marginalized in the communities. Because in terms of disaster, when government operates, when Fiji activate the state of emergency, that's when every ministry shut down and they fall aligned to the NDMO's protocol, the way they organize themselves. And in the community, this is where all these key people are the only person that they will turn to, they will work with, the government. And the reason sensitizing them is important. And it's, for us in Fiji, we have this culture of being silent and not being able to speak out. Hence, we feel that for us, our engagement raising awareness to make sure that they're able to check around their communities within the villages, look around, seeing if there's some elderly people or those that are already facing this type of challenges to be included in disaster preparedness with their homes and also in terms of evacuations.
Nice, thank you. I love that. It's not hard to be considerate, right, of people around you, despite what ability they have to move. So thank you so much for highlighting that, Jay. We will be right back after a quick break here on Empower and Protect. Welcome back to Empower and Protect. We're here with the program coordinator for the FDPF, Jay Nasilasila. Thank you so much, Jay, for joining us again. We are going to be digging into the programs that you're involved with. Please tell us about some of those programs.
Thank you. Yeah, for FDPF, for the unit that I look after, I look after the Disaster and Climate Change Unit. It's a unit that is very important in terms of preparedness and response. So within the program, Fiji Disabled People's Federation, like I said, we have our affiliates organization, the 5 organizations that I mentioned earlier: Fiji Association of the Deaf, United Blind Persons of Fiji, Spinal Injury Associations, people with Association of Persons with Intellectual Disability and Psychiatric Survivors Association. With these 3 organizations, we make sure that we tailor-made programs that addresses all these impairment group. So our affiliates organization, they work specifically on impairment, while we cover all.
Okay.
And then we also go to the community with those existing branches that are there. We have a programs that look after Disaster Ready. It's a DFAT-funded project where we engages with our rural communities, the first responder on the ground, the police, the fire, those that works in the fire authorities, and also Red Cross and other volunteers that are mobilized during disaster response. So this program ensure that we roll out trainings on disability inclusion in DRR. What does it look like for them to wear a persons with disability shoe in times of disaster?
Wow.
And for them to also think from that perspective, it's how does disability inclusion look like in their different set of work? Response, disaster response. And when you talk about disaster response, it's the aid that goes out to the community to support them recover from disaster. And for us, we often say that there's no one size fits all for persons with disability, considering the diversity of impairment, the diversity of needs that are there. So having to train and understand the key needs assessment guide to help them, because for us, our intervention is always to be needs-based support intervention that goes out to the community, because to suit the need of people, and then they're able to recover. Otherwise, they'll be, takes time for them to recover, or they might not recover at all. And that's one. And another one is training on the different assessment form. So we review all the assessment forms that are mostly being used in disaster response. Ensure that it has questions that addresses the needs of persons with disabilities. Because whatever that goes to the form will inform the aid or the response.
So it's important that they...
Yes. So using tools like Washington groups or set of questions to be embedded in all those forms. And we do training as well with all those first responders. And also at the same time, building capacities of persons with disability in the community. Because like I mentioned earlier, at one stage, for us growing up in the communities, it takes a lot of time to reach where we are, to be empowered and to talk about our issue. So for the persons with disability, in order for them to address their issue better, they need to be empowered and trained. So advocacy training and awareness is also being done to the communities. And some work that we do with partners. These partners that we work with is under the DFAT, is Australian Humanitarian Partnership. So organizations like Art of Fiji that do retrofit. Retrofit is the adjustments made to the existing building that are used as evacuation facility that were not accessible, but now being made and adjusted to be accessible to suit the need. So because ADA works with the churches, so they are doing those retrofit work. So OPDs, Organization of Persons with Disability, we do those disability access audit. So audit is done so that we ensure that when accessibility or retrofit work is done, it's off to the right standard. One thing that's very important is to note that accessibility to be done, but in the right standard, because without the right standard, it may create a lot of risk.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so true.
So having those ramps that are very steep, that is not up to standard. Yeah. So standardized audit, access audit is being done by organizations of persons with disabilities, FDPF and its affiliates. We do that in the community, and it's good to see that more organizations are also coming to us for us to do this type of work, audit, to make sure that it's accessible and be easily accessed by everyone, especially public service. Yeah, that's evacuation facilities and early warning system, like I addressed earlier. Some work that we are currently doing with Fiji Med is to ensure that early warning system messages are tailor-made in a way that it suits a different type of impairment. The consideration in terms of the mode of communication as well. Yeah, and very quickly on the inclusive climate action work. So we know that climate change is something that we're really facing at the moment. And for us that lives in the South Pacific, Fiji, and you go out to the communities, you see the impact of climate change. So we're working with our communities and the support from our partners that we ensure that we provide some support in terms of water, access to wash facilities. So the build of tanks, also climate smart agriculture. We're exploring new things like hydroponics.
Oh, wow.
That is made accessible to persons with disabilities. Yeah. So having all those different programs in place, that is what we are currently doing at the moment. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you so much. Oh gosh, there's so many programs that you're a part of now. And I think what your story really underscores to me and to the audience is that you can use your situation to benefit others. You don't have to, I guess, just stop at being protected, but also as a disabled person, empower other people and also be a part of so many things that will contribute to the betterment of how they're treated and the resources that they have down the line. So thank you so much for talking to us about that in your journey. I want to just end very quickly with you giving a little bit of advice to other people who are in your situation, who want to get involved in your work, but they're a bit too discouraged by the stigma that disabled people face. So could you just please?
Thank you. For those all persons with disabilities who may be joining, watching this particular episode, I believe it is important for us to stay connected. For us at Fiji Disabled People's Federation, we have a Facebook page in place, the social media platforms where you can also get our contacts and be involved. We have branches that exist in there's 22 branches, including Rotuma and Kanavu.
Oh wow!
So if you're around that areas and you really want to be part of such initiative that we're doing, you can always just reach out to our social media platform. I think that would be the best easy way to contact us. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Jay.
Thank you.
This has been an episode of Empower and Protect with Jay Nasilasila, who is the Fiji Disabled People's Federation Program Coordinator. We'll catch you next week with a new episode. Pinaka Wakalepo.